Dad making a burger at 8 a.m.?
Is he on British time?
He's making it to bring to Mr. Dowling at the bank. We have a meeting this morning, and we're gonna ask for an extension on our loan payment.
Oh, fun.
And we really, really need to get that extension. All the restaurant equipment is wrapped up in that loan.
So you're giving him a burger?
Well, I mean, we can't give him money, Tina.
Because we don't have any.
Pretty much.
How about you play him some of this?
What, to scare him?
No, to enchant him.
Before we talk about the film, I got the Bob's Burgers sandwich. I'll open it right now. If I can. There's so many
can.
So many wrappers. So many wrappers. Super messy.
So anyway, while you're getting that set up, oh dear God. What is up with that burger? It looks like you crushed
it. Wow. That's a good sandwich from Bob's Burgers. Delicious.
In all seriousness, we're talking about the Bob's Burgers movie, considering that I've hardly ever watched the show. Hardly. I only saw like maybe the first 5 episodes of the first season, and I'm stuck here watching the movie. This is going to be a little strange coming from me because I'm not a fan. And if you like what you see here, click the subscribe button and hit that bell notification for more.
I've seen the show, and I'm a great, true fan of Bob's Burgers. And there's actually a lot of good characters I do like in this film. There's Bob, Tina, Jean, Louise, the landlord.
Bob's Burgers has been on TV for 12 seasons, and considering that I only watched the first 5 episodes of the first season, I am here talking about the movie. And I just want to get this out of the way right now. This movie has the kind of humor that I do not like. The kind of humor where they're trying to be funny, but then they go into that awkward territory where it's like, oh, I'm trying to be funny, but oh, wait a minute, I'm saying it like this, so it makes logical sense. But I'm saying the words technically, and I'm backpedaling, and I'm doing this, but okay, that's fine. Alright, you can go ahead and do whatever you want. That kind of humor, I just don't find that funny. I also don't like...
Okay, his name is Fish Owner.
What does he want to... Does he own a seafood restaurant on the side?
His name is Calvin the Fish.
Kevin Fishoder. That's his name.
Lois Belcher, Bob's Burger, Bob Belcher, Tina Belcher, Linda Belcher, Jean Belcher, Felix Fishholder.
In the movie, stuff happens. The owners of Bob's Burgers are trying to save their restaurant because they haven't been paying their taxes and their mortgage, and they think that it's going to be a really good day because they get to get approved on their loans, but then the bank tells them no, they only have 7 days to pay off.
And then do a music number.
They only have 7 days to pay their bills, otherwise the whole restaurant shuts down.
Yeah.
On top of this massive sinkhole appears literally right next to a restaurant. And not only that, but there's a dead body that got found underneath there. How it got there, nobody really knows. In fact, the movie doesn't really explain that. 2 things are happening here. One is that the restaurant is about to be foreclosed on. And 2, there's a dead body that got found right next to a restaurant, and they had no idea that it was even there. And the landlord is the one who is accused of a murder, and that's a bad thing because if he gets thrown in prison, then their restaurant will close indefinitely. So either way, their restaurant is about to be foreclosed on. The kids, Tina, Louise, and Jean, are now they're trying to save a restaurant for the parents, and so while the parents are trying to figure out how to save their business,
they skip school, and the
kids, Tina, Louise, and Greg are trying. Jean are trying to not only save a restaurant but also figure out who killed this guy, and prove that the landlord is innocent.
And also, Louise wants to prove herself she's not a baby.
If you notice that Louise has these rabbit ears on her head, her character is identified by the rabbit ears.
I love Louise. She's a really good, phenomenal character. I like Louise, Jean, and Tina. They're actually really one of my favorite characters I really like because they're
I hate to burst your bubble. Out of the main characters, I kind of liked the mom. The mom was alright at times. I liked Louise. Louise was pretty good. I thought she was kind of like a detective almost, but she does a good job.
Louise is a very sensitive one, and she's a very sensitive one. She's a very good no, in the show she's a very...
But she could really be a good detective, actually.
Well, she can definitely be a good one. I mean, in this film, she does a pretty good detective work.
Right.
I was really impressed.
Greg, I don't care for. Tina...
What about Teddy?
Has insecurities about not only herself, but also...
What about Teddy?
With other people. Who's Teddy?
That's Teddy. That's Bob's friend. He's the guy who made the...
You mean the guy who made the portable burger cart?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't know much about him, so...
He's actually in the show.
Except for the fact that he watches hockey.
But he's actually in the
No,
show.
I don't know
But
who he
he is like a kind of friend to Bob, and he's actually the only person who comes to the restaurant.
Right, and there's like all these other side characters who they know who just happen to be on the same street block. And it's
Jimmy Jr. is actually also a character in the TV show as well, and Jimmy Jr.'s friend.
Right,
There's
Junior's friend,
Tina.
yeah.
Tina actually likes Jimmy Jr. a lot.
I'm sure they were fine in the show, but in the movie, they barely had any relevance whatsoever. As far as the main plot's concerned, well, there's two things. One, they're trying to get the landlord acquitted, and two, they're trying to figure out who actually killed this guy. It turns out that the murder victim was a guy by the name of Cotton Candy Dan, who he would sell cotton candy at the carnival next door, and now they're trying to figure out who really killed him, and at the same time they're trying to get an exception on their restaurant. But I just think it's funny that the movie doesn't address the controversies that they had on the show, so it's like nothing from the show got carried over.
They do.
Okay, well, do you remember in one of the first episodes they lived next to a funeral home, and somehow these like something happened where the bodies from the funeral home got mixed up with a restaurant, so that was a safety hazard, that was a sanitary issue. They were like, or I don't know if I'm getting this right, but it had something to do where like the restaurant was about to be shut down. The health inspector guy came.
Do you know the health inspector guy?
Yeah, he only showed up once and he never showed up again.
he does show up in other episodes too. Plus, the reason why he has the one of the health inspector has her for Linda. That's Bob's wife. So he has her for her because he actually used to. He actually likes her a long time ago.
Yeah.
But Bob
fell in love with
Linda.
Linda.
Before he could get married to her, so mostly
right. I mean, it was kind of like that was fine
because he does most of the things kind of badly sometimes to make Bob pissed off sometimes.
And also, nobody goes to his restaurant. Have you ever noticed?
No, they do sometimes.
No.
In the episode,
the only customers I've seen is the guy who likes hockey, and I think there's like
there's actually
two other people.
No, there's actually
who show up at his restaurant. So you're trying to tell
because in the show itself,
it's like the Chone Bucket. How is this restaurant in business?
In the show, there is some people coming and going too. They do eat in the show as well.
Kind of like Cheers.
And if you've seen the show, you'll know. But the reason why in the film there had no customers is because of Cinco. Think of that.
They're all pipes.
It was supposed to be changed, and it was not changed.
They were supposed to be changed years ago.
That's the main cause of the burst
I know,
pipe.
yeah.
So that's the main reason why.
But it wasn't just a burst pipe. Like the whole thing caved in.
The whole caved in. That's the main reason why no customers came in. And so Teddy thought of an idea to sell some burgers.
And I forgot to mention.
That was a good idea, by the way.
We're talking all over the place
because this is the only
today,
place
aren't we?
he likes to go eat, mostly. But in my opinion, if you've seen the show, I mean, like I have. I'm a true fan of Bob's Burgers. I mean, that's the reason why I like him more than he does, because he has not fully watched the show to understand the character development, each character I grew up with. Because if he has seen the show, then he is the first bloomer of watching the show. He's not fully developed into the character arc of the Bob's story and Bob's show.
I'm in the middle of watching
yet.
I'm like literally in the middle of watching Real Ghostbusters and Superstore, so...
So mostly he's still trying to watch Bob's Burgers. I gave him homework to watch Bob's Burgers so he can enjoy the show and see what he thinks about this movie when he rewatches it again eventually down the road.
As far as the plot's concerned, it's okay.
Let me ask you one question.
I mean, this kind of plot rightfully does not belong on TV, but it's movie quality, because if you put too much in 30 minutes, people are going to be like, what's happening? So it's nice that the movie was at a reasonable length, and also everything has to be amped up, right? The stakes are raised, there's a lot of tension, there has to be something to keep it interesting. And it was fine. The murder plot, I thought it was okay, that was fine. Plot to save a restaurant, that made sense. Can we address the elephant in the room that I don't know if anybody is really talking about? There are 4 musical numbers in the whole movie, and out of them, only one of them fit the plot.
I mean, to explain you why. Even the one that fit the plot, it does not matter for the other ones. It doesn't need to have to be fit in the plot. It
does.
No, it doesn't.
Let me ask you something. Do you want something to not make sense? Do you want a whole movie where nothing makes sense?
That's not what I'm trying to say.
If you want that, go to Wonderland. But I'm
saying is that for a film, yes, there's some occasions where it has to fit with the plot. Yes, of course. But comedy related with the film like this, sometimes it doesn't have to be connected to something. It could be a little bit different, to be a little bit funny at the same time, and also be connected to the plot too. It doesn't have to be some of the
Well,
stuff
if
is
you
connected.
make fun of a randomness,
that's what they
it
do.
could work.
That's what they did mostly.
If you make fun of how random something is, it could work. That also has to be grounded in reality too. And that's what this movie was. It was grounded in reality. There were a couple fantasy sequences here and there, but that's normal. That was okay. I get that idea, but the whole awkward humor kind of thing, I just didn't find that funny. There were a couple occasions where it was actually genuinely funny. Like there were some parts of it that were genuinely funny. And there's one moment that sticks out in my head where the kids are trying to go to the theme park, the pier, and they're asking about one of the carnies that's there who lives down by this carnival ghetto area. And she talks to one of the guys who's about to purchase a ticket, and she goes, do you sell tickets here? I'm a woman that's walked up at a booth. Of course, here's, I'll sell you tickets. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Because that actually makes sense, because like, she's in that booth selling tickets, and she's probably bored out of her mind, so it makes sense.
But the thing is, like...
But all the musical numbers, like, the way they move, it's almost robotic. It's
They're
like...
not robotic, man. That's how they're...
I'm a dancer, so I know how this
people
works.
dance differently in different things. Okay, Indian people dance differently.
I'm just saying,
animations are different. Okay, for
they were
example,
dancing like one was inflatable car advertising.
it doesn't matter how they dance. For example, Indian people dance a different way too. Think about it like that.
yeah.
But there are different dances and different things. It doesn't have to fit for the film at all. It just makes it kind of unique because it's the music numbers.
Or awkwardly funny.
Awkwardly funny. Because it's unique to a film where it's interesting. Some of the plots of the music they will connect, but some of the ones are randomness are pretty cool. Because I've never seen a film actually take risks to make it into a really interesting film where the animation is phenomenal in my opinion. It's really gorgeous.
I felt like the animation in this was
Really
somewhat better than the show, which is weird.
The reason why I'm saying this was the animation.
The animation in the show was more like Family Guy, but the animation in here was more fluent, if that makes sense. This movie felt to me more like South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut, where it's bigger budget, bigger stakes, the bar is raised, and also there are musical numbers. Only difference is that the musical numbers in that movie, there was a cue to let you know, hey, there's gonna be a song
Remember
coming.
the part when it said hole and shit? That was hilarious.
Don't go in the hole. Oh, don't
Stop it.
Stop it! Don't go in the hole. No.
But it was still funny. The jokes in the film, there's some jokes in the film are pretty hilarious.
Some of it's okay.
Some of them really good. It's because
it was alright.
The reason why I laughed a lot in this film because I get the jokes. I get it because of the humor.
See, you like that awkward humor that I'm not a fan of. Oh, I mean funny, but I'm saying it like this. But okay, we can do it that way too. You know, that kind of humor.
You can still give it a chance though and see what you think about the show. It's actually 12 seasons.
That awkward humor I'm just not a big fan of, but that's just me.
You probably still like it, who knows?
I mean, that's just me.
Maybe you'll like it in that
Some people, it's like how some people like wordplay comedy or screwball comedy.
I'm not saying
people don't. It's okay.
I'm not saying you might like it until the end, but who knows? You might actually like it after.
Probably. I mean,
maybe you might like it after you watch season 1 to 12. 13 is still in development, by the way.
Yeah,
so
I can't believe there's 12 seasons of this.
It's so popular. That's why. Think about how many people came to the film. A lot of people who are Bob's true fans came to this movie.
There were a good
like
amount
I
of people.
was.
Yeah, but there were also some people who weren't, who were just kind of getting introduced to the show that way, possibly. I mean, as an introduction to Bob's Burgers, it works fine, but I don't know. Maybe it's best if go with your own judgment, see if you like it. If you don't, that's fine.
If you have not seen the show, I think you will not understand the comedic jokes and things like that or in this film alone. But if you have seen the show, you'll understand it really well. The weirdness and the funny banters and jokes and comedic things because you understand the jokes and understand the characters as well.
If you get it, you'll like it.
Because if you have not seen the show, you probably will not get it as much like my friend here. But if
what if you just looked at it as a movie by itself?
That would be kind of difficult because if you just watch the movie by itself without understanding the true nature of the Bob's Burgers show, you will still probably not. If you have watched the show, you probably get the true nature of the show a little bit much more depth.
Possibly, but I'm just saying, like, if you looked at it as a movie on its own, like if you separate the show from the movie, if let's say for example the show didn't exist and you just have this movie, then what would you think?
I don't know, probably like it'd be kind of hard to say because without the show, it'd be kind of difficult to understand my perspective of the characters because I would not know who they are.
You mean like the context wouldn't make sense?
Would not make sense because I mean it would not be that hilarious, or it might be funny. Who knows? I would not know without even seeing it, of course.
But like, would it still have an audience?
It depends. It depends if the animation in the trailer was really good.
That's a thing. I want to bring this up before we wrap up. The trailer hardly talked about the movie at all. I think that's kind of a good idea and also a bad idea because it's a good idea to hype people up, to get them excited, give them very little information, to keep them curious, feed the curiosity, right? But it could not be a good thing because you may not understand exactly what the movie's really about, or what it's trying to say. They're keeping the movie kind of in a secret, like, hey, you want to know what Bob's Burgers is? Go see the movie. You know what I mean? It's interesting.
Let me ask you a question. So now you've seen the film. Now you've seen the film. Now are you eager to see what the show is about now? Does that a little bit give you a little bit of boost to watch the show and see what the show is about now, and what is the character will be, and what is the show will entail the season 1 to 12?
Perhaps. I mean, it would get me kind of curious as to like why this show has fans, but
That's what you need to know.
At the same
only way you need
time,
to find out is watch the show.
at the same time, it's not going to change my perception of like I don't like this awkward humor kind of thing.
Who knows? It might. People are different. Like I said, even though the spectator might not change, it might. Who knows? People are different. It might change. It might not. Two ways. It might change. It might not. So if it changes, yay. If it doesn't, it's still okay. At least still watch the show.
Wow, for a movie that's literally an hour and a half, we went on 25 minutes now. It's utterly bizarre, isn't it? I mean, I guess that's fine, but I don't know. Like, I always kind of wondered why the guy. We were just standing here talking for 25 minutes, and we're kind of on this. Okay, now I'm starting.
Remember, guys.
Remember, guys. So, are you gonna finish that?
I will in a sec, man.
Rating.
I'll give it a 10, of course.
Okay, well, I give it kind of like a 6.
Wow, that's a bad score.
Really?
It's a bad score, man. A 6 out of 10. What you thinking, man?
6 is decent.
No, it ain't. It's bad scoring.
Yeah. Did you check the
That's an okay scoring.
What are you trying to say? That a 6 out of 10 would be classified as a D? That's what you're trying to say? Or is this like school grade stuff?
It's classified as a D, probably.
Really? Because I thought it was more like a C plus or something.
Not to me, it ain't. Because
I'm saying like.
No,
I'm saying it's like.
Okay, what about this? I'll give you a thing. Even though you give
7.
A little better, but even though you give this rating right now, after you watch the show, would you change your mind to a better rating?
It depends.
What if you give it an 8?
You do realize these are first impressions, right?
I know, I'm just saying in general.
I'm just saying, this movie was fine for what it was. If you're a fan of Bob's Burgers, you'll have a blast. You'll enjoy it. For people who have never watched the show, like, well, I mean, I've seen a little of the show, but the people who aren't familiar with the show, you'll think the movie's okay. And if you have the kind of person that doesn't like that awkward humor, you probably won't. Well, actually, you'll find a couple parts that are funny, like I did. I think it was okay. I think it was an okay movie.
He gives it an 8 or 7.
6.
You said 7.
Only because I think that there's room for improvement. You know, maybe they'll make a sequel. Maybe.
Possible.
I doubt it.
But I don't know. But I mean, as a film as Bob Burgers, I mean, it's a pretty interesting.
You could do worse.
I mean, it's an interesting movie, so I mean,
it's
yes.
Fine. Special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame street bun. Two all beans, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame street bun.
Fresh hot burgers.
It's a good time for the great taste of
Bob's Burgers.